Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Mindy with Mindy Egan Design, and today's card is featuring a brand new release from the April 2018 release from Kraftin Kimmie Stamps, and this one is called What's Up Dude. So this has a couple of really great sentiments and two boy images. So this is great because I know boy cards or guy cards are really hard to come by. So I'm starting out, my card is going to be using this teenager, this kid with the headphones around. And I stamped my image onto Neenah Solar White cardstock, which is my preferred choice of cardstock to use for Copic coloring. And I stamped it in a Copic friendly ink. And then I'm going to color it in with my Copics. So what I start out with is I typically start with the skin. And I put a layer of the lightest color I'm going to be using, which is the E00, and I lay that down over the skin first. And then I come in with my darkest color, which is the E04, and I add my shadows. So I started out adding shadows around where the hood would be covering the side of the face and around the hairline, the bottom of the arm, and then also a little bit from the arm that's holding the phone, I guess is what they would probably be holding now. A little bit from where that arm is coming out from that side of him would be a little bit of shadow. So I just went in and added just a little bit of the shadows and then blending out with the rest of the colors, which is the E11, E21, E01, and E00. And I do typically come back in and deepen up those shadows and add another layer. That just helps me give a little bit more of that contrast of those shadow areas and blend that out a little bit better. So that's just my personal way of coloring. So you'll see me do that for actually all of the areas, as I do typically add the 2 layers just to make sure I have all those shadows nice and deep, showing any folds, things like that. So now I'm starting in with the hair, and typically I do a lot of more of a blending style when it comes to my Copic coloring, but for his hair there wasn't a lot there, and because it was kind of that spike sticking out, I decided to go with the flicking motions. So that is what you saw there, is just flicking in those 3 different layers of colors. And now I'm coming in to color the jeans. So I'm adding shadow areas onto the right side there, to me would be the darkest, along those fold lines, where the shoe would be casting a shadow onto those pants. Kind of looks like the pants are sort of tucked into the shoes. And then under the belt line. And then I just blend that out again just like before, go from my darkest to my lightest, and then come back in with the darkest just to deepen those shadows and those fold lines. And I'll just continue that out. And I will have all the colors and supplies I use listed in the video description of the video here, and also on my blog, so you can check out the new release from Kraftin Kimmie Stamps. And if this is an image that you would like to color, I have all those colors listed. And now I'm going to come in, excuse me, and color the jacket. So what I decided is, actually I wanted the undershirt to be a white. So I did that first because my greens are kind of a darker, I didn't want to pull, I wanted to start with the white first. That way if I wouldn't be pulling my green into the white. So I just went in with a couple light grays for that shirt, and I left the middle of it white, because when you're coloring white, you don't want to color the entire thing your grays. You just want to have a couple shadow areas. So now I'm coming in and I'm doing the jacket. So I'm just adding a few shadows around the face, so that's showing that he's got his hoodie up, and along the back side of it, because that's the furthest away from the light. Around the headphones would be casting a shadow because he's got those laying over his shoulders, a little bit down the back side of the arm, and then underneath the arm as well. And then blending those out from the darkest to lightest. Once I have the image fully colored in, I am going to go ahead and cut that out with my scan and cut machine. You could also fussy cut around this image. I just happen to have the scan and cut, which is really nice and handy for me, because that way I can go ahead and add it to my card, because I had a background in mind that I wanted to do, and so I wanted to make sure that I had the image cut out and ready to go. So just finishing off a few little areas on the image. I have, it looks like he's got his pants hanging down just a little bit. So I did color in a belt and then a little light blue for the boxers that look like they're sticking out. And I just did some real light colors on this. I didn't have those stand out. And the same thing with the shoes. I just add a little bit of shadow to the shoes because they are kind of a smaller image. So I don't go overboard when it comes to coloring them. I just make sure to have those shadows so that it defines kind of the front and back and what's facing the light. And I did those with my cool grays. I tend to try and reuse a lot of the colors throughout the card. I try not to have too many markers spread across my desk, so that's where you'll see a lot of the cool grays that I use, and I use a lot of the ends for another gray, dark gray color. So that's what I'm doing with the headphones is the ends, the neutrals. And that will finish that up. So I'll set that off onto the side, and I'm going to start on the background of my card. And here is where it gets a little interesting. So I have some Deco foil that I want to use for the background of my card. This is like a rainbow foil. I also have some toner sheets. And then I have these designer toner sheets and these splatters. And these splatters are super cool. I fell in love with these and I knew exactly what I wanted to use them for when I saw it. Excuse me. So also in there, you'll get this parchment paper that opens up. And that's where you're going to lay your foil and your transfer sheets. So I have a piece of the rainbow foil that I cut down and also these designer toner sheets with that splatter on there. You'll be able to tell there's one side, you'll have to really look at them to tell which side to use. If it doesn't work the first time, you flip it over, try it again. But you just lay that down in your parchment. You add your foil on top. And I have the Royal Sovereign, I believe it's called. This is the Laminator. And you're going to put this parchment in fold side first. You'll want to do that so that way it doesn't catch when it's coming through. I have tried the Scotch Laminator before. Honestly, I just did not have the luck. So I invested in this Royal Sovereign, which really isn't too bad. And it works beautifully. So, excuse me. You do have to let it warm up though for about a half hour is what I did. So once that ran through, I kind of took a peek, make sure that it worked, and it did. I was really excited when I saw this. So I can move this off on the side and show you. And you'll just open up that parchment paper. I did kind of push down on it, make sure it had a nice solid impression to it. And then I can remove these foils. And this is so pretty. It's like magic when you remove these sheets. And you have these gorgeous rainbow splatter marks. I thought that was just so cool. And notice the sheet I did remove, I'm going to use that again too. And that's why I have the toner sheets. But you get this really nice size. This can actually make 2 cards. So when I trim this down, I'll have this available for another card to use. And now you'll see here, there's still a lot of foil left on here. So this is where I'm bringing out those toner sheets. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to lay this foil piece on top of that toner sheet. And I'm going to run this through the laminator. Some people like to put a piece of cardstock in there just to give it an extra push towards those heating elements. I didn't, and it worked out perfectly. Like I'm really excited with how this turned out. I just did not have luck with the Scotch no matter what I did. But these were wonderful. I love it. And they give such gorgeous effects. So now once that came through, I can reveal this. I didn't use this one on my background. I just wanted to show you what else you could do with it to get the most out of your foils. And so here we have another background that I can use for a future card. Except this time it's got the black in the background. So super cool. Love these splatters. And there's a few other designs too that you can check out. And I'll have that link down below in the video. So now that I have my splatter background ready, what I decided to do is I was picturing a brick wall with the colored splatters. So I have the brick wall stencil that I'm just going to attach to a piece of cardstock. And I'm going to use some Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide. So I just attach my stencil to my cardstock, bringing in that hickory smoke and just adding a real light layer. I wasn't sure how this was going to look with my card. It was just the idea I had in my head. So I just did a real scattered background with it. I didn't go all the way to the edges. I just added that here and there, some darker spots, completely random. Remove that. Really liked how that came out. And then I can come in and I'm kind of lining up my splatter, and it didn't pop off as much as I would have liked to, but I totally made it work. Loved it. The splatter marks looking like they're on the wall there. So I love how that kind of came together. So I trimmed that splatter sheet down to fit my card base. And this is how my little guy's going to look on there. I love it. So now to attach it, because this is a clear sheet, what I'm going to do is just take my adhesive and I'm putting that behind all of the splatter marks. I did put a couple little dabs of adhesive in the top corners, and you probably can't see it on camera, but I could kind of see it on person on the card, so I didn't do a lot of it. Honestly, just adding that adhesive behind the splatter marks worked out perfect. It held my card really well. And then any excess, I just trim off with the scissors because there were a couple little overhanging parts, which not a big deal. So I did go ahead and just trim those down. And that's going to be the panel for my card. Love it. And there's my little guy. I think he looks great with this background. And now I just need to figure out a sentiment since I can't really stamp on here. I mean, you probably could, but I decided to go with You Rock because I can use that for anything. And I have this die. It was really cool. It's like a ripped rectangle. And I thought that just kind of really matched with the theme of the card I had going on here. And I just cut that out of black cardstock. And then I'm going to stamp that You Rock onto some white cardstock. And I'm going to use just some black ink. And I'm going to trim it down to fit inside my rectangles. So I didn't do anything real fancy. I didn't do any real measuring. Just kind of was winging it. And actually I kind of slipped there. So it kind of gave an off look, which was fine. I think it just matched with the theme of the card. So then I just went ahead and trimmed that down to fit inside that rectangle. And that came together great. And just kind of show you here, since it was black on top of my black craft mat, just popped that white in to show you what it's going to look like. And the black there that's what I'm using for my card base. So I'm just using the A2 size card base, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And my panel is the 4 by 5 1/4. So I'll go ahead, get that finished off, and I'm going to be adding my little dude with some phone squares just to give that dimension. So I hope you really enjoyed this. Something new and different to try with your cards was the Deco foil. I'll have all of those supplies listed down below and also on my blog, so be sure to head over and check that out. And also the new release, the April 2000 release from Kraftin Kimmie Stamps, so you can check that out as well. I hope you really enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll catch you in the next video.